Kapil sir, we are live now.
Hello.
Okay.
YouTube streaming has been started. We are live now. We can start the program also. We are on right time.
Okay. Are you able to hear me?
Ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Are you
Very
able
much
to
clear.
hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
We can.
God sir, can we start?
Please start.
Good evening to one and all. Welcome to this webinar from our School of Pharmacy and Technology Management, SPP SPTM Mumbai campus. This is the first of our webinar series with the title What Went Wrong? Pharmatech Case Studies by Pharma Regulatory Investigations. This is the title of the webinar today. We have Dr. PG Shrotria sir who has joined us. We also have Dr. R.S. Gaud who is Director Pharma Institutions and also the founder dean of our school in Mumbai. So for all those who have joined in for the first time, I will just give a small introduction about our schools as well as our guest for today, Dr. Shrotriya, and then I will hand over the system to him. So Dr. Kalyani, may I request you to start the school presentation? Thank you so much. So welcome once again everyone on behalf of SPP SPTM, which is part of NMIMS University. To start with the introduction and how and what we are SVKM's NMIMS, that is SVKM's Narsimonji Institute of Management Studies, which is short form known as NMIMS. It is Sri Vile Parle Kelwani Mandal, that is a short form. That is a full form of SVKM. This trust has been established in the year 1934 with a small school Rashtriya Shala, and we have established the university Narsimonji Institute of Management Studies. Initially, it was a college, management college affiliated to Mumbai University. But in the year 1981, this management college has been established. Subsequently, NMIMS has received deemed to be university status in the year 2003 from Government of India. So because of this, we call our university as SVKM's NMIMS. It is a deemed university which has got permanent affiliation, permanent approval from our MHRD. And NMIMS today has grown into a very big institution which is under the umbrella of SVKM. We are having more than 17,000 students who are studying in different schools of NMIMS. We have 17 schools and it is a multidisciplinary university. We have commerce, economics, engineering, architecture, pharmacy. The list is up till 17 schools. I'm not going to read out the entire list, but we have 8 different campuses also which are spread out across the country. Out of them, Shirpur campus has been established in the year 2007, and Mumbai campus, the Pharmacy School of Mumbai campus has been established in the year 2006. And our NMIMS University has been accredited with 3.59 A+. This is a third cycle in which we have got this grade, and we have been named as a tier 1 university. Only 11 universities in the country have received this kind of grading as a tier 1 university. Now in this, we have our university has got all accreditations and rankings. If you see, Kalyani, can you please go back? Can you please go back on the slide? One slide, please. Yeah, we have got grade 1 A+, and we have also got autonomy status category 1 by MHRD and UGC also. With these accreditations and rankings, under the umbrella of NMIMS, next slide please. Under the umbrella of NMIMS, School of Pharmacy and Technology Management has been established in Mumbai as in the year 2006. And SPP SPTM, it is known as, and SPP SPTM Shirpur campus, SPTM Shirpur campus has been established in the year 2007. And SPTM Hyderabad, which is a recent addition to our schools, has been established in the year 2019. So currently we have 3 pharmacy schools, whereas our campuses are there in Shirpur, Hyderabad, Indore, Bangalore, and many other cities. Next slide, please, Kalyani. You can see here we have received the various programs that we are offering in our Mumbai campus are PhD in Farm Sciences, MPharm and MPharm plus MBA program. This is one unique program which we are having in our campus. In addition to MPharm, the student has the option of studying MBA program also. This is Pharmatech and Healthcare Management. That is a degree they would receive. And in MPharm area, we have got four specializations: pharmaceutics, pharmaceutical quality assurance, pharmaceutical technology, and industrial pharmacy. And also we have another unique program. We are the pioneers in the country. We have started this program for the first time in the year 2006, which is BPharm plus MBA Pharma Tech. So they do BPharm program as per the regulations, and then in addition, they will be studying MBA also. And we have our BPharm program as well as Diploma in Pharmacy program also in our Mumbai campus. Kalyani? Yeah. We have got all our approvals in place. All our pharmacy programs have been approved by PCI. We have got accreditations by NBA, and all AACT approvals are also in place for our programs. And because this management area is also there, management has been the strength of NMIMS. So we have got the strength of management also to our students in all our programs. And the infrastructure, we have been fortunate to receive world-class infrastructure in all the areas, which are all the requirements of the school. Right from the beginning, we have started with the top-down model, where the highest level of infrastructure has been created for PhD students. And we have done PhD students, right, PhD program right from day one. That's why we could have very senior teachers who are invited by Dr. Gaud. And very industry experienced people also had joined us. Industry has always supported us to take us in the initial level till date to take us to this level. And we are very grateful to all our stakeholders, industry personnel, our parents, our management, our faculty members, our senior teachers, colleagues, everybody. Next slide, please. Right from day one, as I have told you, since PhD has been our main focus, we could focus on research and we could publish a lot of papers. Till date, we have got 569 papers published in international journals. In national journals, we have got 118 and we have got 26 books published by our faculty. And book chapters are 74. Our teachers have been regularly presenting their research work in the conferences. We have got 4 patents granted in the in this short span of time, which is 13 years. We are a young teenage school. And we have got 35 patents at different levels of processing. And we have been receiving research grants from various places, all the government organizations, as well as industry. So with all that, the grants have reached a level of 883.34 lakhs. So we have got grants for our PhD students also, which we have received from university, as well as government, as well as industry. Next slide, please. Our school has been continuously receiving awards, honors, and several types of ranks. We have been ranked 13 among all pharmacy colleges in India by NIRF, National Institutional Ranking Framework 2020. We have received platinum rating in AICTE survey. We have been with Best School of Pharmacy by Stars of Industry Award also, and several awards were in place. And now I move on to our guest of the day, Dr. PG Shrotriya. He does not need any introduction since he has been in the profession even before some of our faculty members born. He is such a stalwart and he has been in the profession contributing in a very big way. He has been in the academics also as well as in the industry also. So he has been bringing this kind of mixed expertise to all the students as well as faculty and contributing to the pharma profession globally. That's what I should say, not only just in India, but globally. So to mention a few points, I will not be able to describe the entire thing due to paucity of time, but to mention a few points, he's got 40 years of industrial experience and worked in India as well as overseas in every facet of pharmaceutical industry. Excuse me, can you please go back? Can you please go back one slide? And he was the former director of pharma research at our school, Shobhaben Pratapbhai Patel School of Pharmacy and Technology Management in Mumbai. And moving on, next slide, please. Next slide, please. In India, he was
Bala, you are not audible, please. Kalyani, you continue.
And also Ranbaxy Laboratories, whole-time director at MJ. There are so many companies listed out here because I won't be reading all of them. And he's also been acknowledged by WHO Global Resource Person for Drugs and Pharmaceuticals, ex-member of Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, where he contributed a lot. Also chairman of Parental Committee and member of Subject Committee of National Formulary of India. The list goes on. Next slide, please. He is a member of several national and international bodies for academic and industrial organizations, and he has been delivering several lectures across the globe, many countries. Today, we are fortunate enough to have him to deliver a lecture for us. Now, I hand over this session to Dr. Shrotriya sir for starting his presentation. Welcome, sir. Welcome to our webinar series. And thank you for being with us today evening. Looking forward to hearing a lot from you, sir. Thank you. Learning from you.
Thank you very much, Professor Bala, Professor God and Professor Bala for inviting me to deliver this talk. You know, it gives me a great pleasure. First of all, I must say hearty congratulations to Professor God as well as Professor Bala for achieving 13th position for SPTM in the national ranking.
Thank you, sir.
I will just tell you, take you a little back. Culmination of this, my book, What Went Wrong. It goes back to 2014. Some of these case studies, they were presented to SPTM and Shirpur faculty at Shirpur in 2014. It reminds me that it was a Professor God who suggested me at that time only that, doctor, you must write a book. Professor God, this was your suggestion, which took quite some time, but nevertheless, I was held determined to see that the book comes out, which has come out now. I'll be Professor God as well as Professor Bala. I will be sending you complimentary copies of this book once I have received it from the publishers. As of today, the books have already been printed, but they are not able to send it because Chennai, where the publisher is located, they are under lockdown. So hopefully, another few days time, once the lockdown is lifted, then in that case, they will be able to send me the copies. What went wrong? Pharmatech case studies. What does it cover? The book covers, in fact, the objective wise, it's a multidisciplinary approach and the guideline for the problem solving capability. It also includes the format for documentation of the complaint. The case studies which are presented in this book, they are based on the actual situation faced in India and overseas and successfully resolved, convincing the international regulators as well as complainants. And the last but not the least, it works out to closing of complaints. I will take you back. In fact, my industrial working started 1973. Prior to that, immediately after PhD, I was absorbed by Sagar University as an assistant professor. And thereafter, I was taken up by Bombay College of Pharmacy. Having worked for a little more than a year in Bombay College of Pharmacy, I thought that no, I'm cut out for industry. And I decided to join industry. My first industry, it was the first entry in the pharma industry in the organization called TDPL, that is Tamil Nadu Dada Pharmaceuticals Limited, located then Madras, which is present Chennai. And it was the first joint venture private public sector undertakings. I just joined the organization. On the very first day, I was taken around the factory. The factory had quite a few, I would say, the dosage form facilities. So first I suggested them that you please take me to water system. They took me to water system. In those days, a permitted process was the one which was being used by industries. Involved use of zeolite and the periodic regeneration with the help of sodium chloride. When I went round the water system area, I asked the operator, how frequently do you regenerate? He said 2 to 3 times a day, depends. I said, how do you decide? He said, it is on my gut feeling says that yes, I have to generate, so I regenerate that. So I told him, I said, okay, do one thing. You please send raw water sample as well as the regenerated whatever that purified water which you have generated, that also you send it to the laboratory. Incidentally, I may tell you that I joined the organization as a chief chemist and looking after all activities. Subsequent to this water system, I went to another number of other areas. Out of that, I went to say one area which was embrocation. I do not know whether the present generation are familiar with the word embrocation. It was a liniment emulsion. This particular area where O by W emulsion was manufactured. 400 liter was the batch size, and in a container, in a tank, there was a batch which it had in fact, the label claim, the label details. So I asked the supervisor over there that this batch was manufactured almost 15 days back. Why it is lying here? He told me, sir, this is an emulsion. I said, okay, I understand. He said, this emulsion is broken. Okay. So I said that, did it happen first time or before that also it had happened? He said, no, it happened 2 to 3 times earlier also. So what did you do with the batch? He showed me the nearest drainage and said that this is the drainage through which we had siphoned out the batches which failed. And the gentleman was from Rajasthan. He was a BSc. He was from Rajasthan, and he told me that Dr. emulsion, once the emulsion is broken, it is like a broken heart. Once it breaks, it cannot be repaired. And so, in fact, now that you have joined us, so this particular broken emulsion, we would like you to tell us. I told him, and I affixed straight away the label, it cannot be destroyed without my permission. The cost of, in fact, the batch was ₹1 lakh of rupees, and COG worked out to ₹8 per 100 ml. This batch was awaiting decision to drain out. So I told the supervisor, I said, no, you are not going to drain out this batch without my permission. So please send about 200 to 300 ml liquid, which is in the form of a broken emulsion, does not matter. Just send it to the laboratory. They sent it to the laboratory. In those days, in fact, we had, for R&D activities, we had BSCs. Now, we started, in fact, the first and foremost is that we started investigation with the water. And we standardized and we told them that, yes, you are going to regeneration of the zeolite is concerned, it will be done only after testing of this particular water. We used to carry out the testing, fix up the standard, and it worked out to, instead of 2 to 3 times a day by the gut feeling of an operator, it worked out to once in 3 days, depending on the consumption of the water. So far as this emulsion was concerned, I told my supervisors over there that do one thing, you separate out the oil phase as well as the water phase of the emulsion. And whatever the material which has already been flecked out, that also you filter out. Oil phase is concerned, you keep aside. The water phase is concerned, that you discard. Look at the formula and whatever the components which have gone into the water, I said you are going to supplement this one. And subsequent to that, we separated the flecked of, the emulsifying agents. New emulsifying agent was used, and once again, emulsion was prepared in the usual manner. The batch was, to begin with, we started with the 500 ml. Once the batch was found satisfactory, I called the quality control man and I asked him, I said, please tell me, earlier batches, when they failed, when did they separate out? When the breaking of the emulsion took place? He said, here you used to manufacture the batch, and then in that case, at the end of the day, it used to break. I said, okay. We carried out the stability studies of the 500 ml batch, which we had taken. Once we found that it was found satisfactory, then we took up a batch of a 5 liter. After successful operation of that 5 liter batch, then in that case, we decided that, okay, we are going to take up the reprocessing of the batch, 400 liter batch remaining. The quality control man was a little shaky. He says, Doc, in the past, these batches have broken, and I'm not confident whether this product will withstand. So I told him that when did it break? After the manufacturing, how many days? He said, in the morning you manufacture, and in the evening, by evening it used to separate out. I said, okay. I said, this batch which you are seeing, the 5 liter batch which we had prepared, it had seen at least 5 days. And I said, we have kept these batches also on for the stability studies. Those batches were also shown to him, and I told him that the batches were found satisfactory. So then I think, we should take up a batch for the whole entire batch, remaining quantity of the batch. He was still shaky about it, but I went ahead and we took up a batch of the remaining batch out of the 400 liters. And once it was manufactured, after that, the batch was centrifuged 5,000 RPM for a 15 minutes. It's a worst case scenario. should it happen that in case if the batch is to separate out, it will separate out there itself. It did not separate. I showed it to the quality control man and I told him, I said, see, the batch has survived even such a rigorous condition. He says, Doc, but yes, I am not confident whether this batch, will it withstand market? I said, if it withstand in the organization, it will definitely withstand, because you have said yourself, you said that at the end of the day of manufacturing, your emulsion used to break, and within a matter of few days, they had taken the decision to throw the batches, drain out the batches from the nearest drainage. So after the batch was rectified, the batch remained over there. Then managing director of the company, he had come. He got to know of it. He came over there. He had an interaction with me on the batch. He had heard about the water system regeneration process also. And everywhere, regeneration process wise, we gave, in fact, in black and white, what is to be done. Similarly, in case of this embrocation also, a batch process was totally prepared and it was given, including, in fact, the recovery of the batch, rejected batch. We discussed, in fact, this particular matter, myself as well as the managing director, and he asked me, Doc, tell me, what is your gut feeling? Do you think this product will survive if it goes to market? I said, I shoulder the responsibility. It will survive. Based on that, he told quality control man, who was very much hesitant. He said that, okay, you release the batch. And I told him, I said, I shoulder the responsibility. The batch was released. Nothing happened. We had in the same campus, we had a kiwi shoe polish unit. And we had one British operator who used to look after and manufacture the product. He used to have time and again, he used to have a problem with regard to the consistency of the product. And once he came to me and told me, Doc, I need your help. I said, okay, I'll come to your plant. I went over there, had a look at it, had a look at the specification of each one of the ingredients. Then we worked out a total process to resolve the issue once for all. See, these are so far the kiwi shoe polish is concerned, it's nothing else but it contains number of waxes, plus the turpentine is there. The problem was resolved. I told him, I said, you manufacture 5 batches and just see whether do you think that you have got a consistency problem or you have resolved the problem. We introduced, in fact, in-process control with regard to the consistency, that is the viscosity of the product. The product was marketed, and subsequent to that, the perennial problem that the gentleman used to face, it was resolved. I must make a mention here, this was my first job, first day observations and the rectification. After about a month or so, the managing director called me to head office and discussed various matters, and then subsequent to that, he called the finance manager and he asked me, he said, Doctor, I understand you do not have a scooter. I said, yes, sir, you are very right. I don't have a scooter. He called the manager and told him that you give him 5,000, you give 5,000 rupees to Dr. Shotria and he told me that I want you to buy at earliest possible. I want you to buy a scooter for you. I bought 5,000 rupees. I got first Lambretta of my own. This is essentially why I'm saying this one specifically for students. All that you require to do, you don't have to have a hi-fi knowledge. But if you have worked during your undergraduate as well as the postgraduate studies, honestly, and you have captured some of the basic things, I can rest assure you, you can also resolve the issue. Let me tell you one thing, friend, you don't require PhD for this. It's a matter of basic knowledge which you acquire at a B Pharm level or M Pharm level. And you can resolve the issues. It's a matter of a confidence. How confident are you in your own knowledge? I will come to some of the case studies which I confronted with at an international level. Ethambutol tablet BP. It was a product which was regularly supplied to WHO. In the last supply, after receiving the product, after almost about a year of the 2 years expiry, the regulatory agency reported that there is an abnormal in the product. There is an abnormal order of the abnormal order in the product. This particular complaint was referred before I joined the organization to a QA man. My observation in industry has been, number of industries, that QA considers, most of the QA people, avoid, and when you receive it, they have a standard reply, which is kept ready in their drawer, and they just send it across to the complainant, in which you will find that number one, we have checked all our documents, retention sample, everything is fine, nothing is wrong. What is not written is, it is only the useless customer who is complaining. When I joined that organization at that time, a letter was written by the WHO again, not satisfied with the earlier response. The letter went to the chairman. The chairman sent it to me and asking that if you can look into this. I just looked into that entire thing, and I told my QA man, I said, please, I would like you to examine each one of the components which have been used in this product. Since it's a question of an order, let us accept it as a reality. No pharmacopoeia includes taste and order as a requirement. Obviously, subsequent to that, we carried out tests for each one of the raw materials which was used in the manufacturing. Nothing came out. In the meantime, I had also requested WHO that can you please provide us one intact container out of the total supply which is now left over with you. They said, yes, we will do that. And they sent one container. Once they sent the container, after that, we had already examined all the raw materials, best manufacturing records, as well as the quality control records, analysis reports. To begin with, we suspect that when it's a question of an order, you carry out the testing for metabolism also.
Shrotre sir, can I just interrupt for a moment? Your presentation, sir, you were going to share a presentation.
Say it again, sorry.
Your presentation, you were going to share a presentation, sir.
Yeah, I'll be giving it to you.
Okay, sir. You'll be sharing it from the screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
But I would like you to make sure that it remains with you only and not shared with anybody and everybody.
Sir, you can share it yourself. Share screen kar dijiye, sir. Please do the share screen. That's fine.
Okay, I will send it across, no problem.
Please share the screen from your side.
Yeah. So subsequent, in fact, the product had the pack profile was 500 tablets were packed in a 300 gauge double polythene bag, LDP bag, with a Taggart tin container. When we carry out the all tests for ethambutol,
Hello.
I think due to connectivity issues, sir has got disconnected.
Okay, maybe call him. Call him, please, immediately.
Yes, ma'am, he's back.
Okay, thank you.
Shrotre sir, your mic is mute. Please unmute your mic, sir. And share your screen, sir. Share your screen. That green button.
1 second. Yeah, so subsequent to that, when we carried out the test for ethambutol,
Excuse me,
raw
sir.
material.
Slideshow. Put on slideshow.
Just 1 minute.
Yep.
Once we carried out, in fact, the test for all the tests of the ethambutol raw material, in the British Pharmacopoeia, we found that there was one test for a related substances, they call it N-butanol. The limit was not more than 0.1%. First, people in the quality control, they said, doctor, it is just 0.1%. It is insignificant. And I said, okay, please let me know, what is the concentration did you observe? They said 0.04 to 0.05. Okay. Can you hear me? Because the slides have already gone from my side.
Sir, it's very much clear, sir. Audio and video both. You please carry on, sir.
When we tested, in fact, N-butanol, it was found to be within the limit. We tested the 5 batches before these particular supplies, and we found that all of them, they were in the range of 0.04 to 0.05. But yet, in fact, such a low concentration. Then we had requested WHO that can you please provide us a one container. We received the container, and Along with that, we also took out, in fact, the retention sample. Both retention sample as well as the sample received from the complainant. When we opened and when we just took a smell or odor of it, we felt that yes, there was an odor. We took out the API container, retention sample, and we tested that. We carried out the odor of it. We found that yes, it has also similar odor. Then I requested, our QC people that we must be having, the related substance and butanol, authentic sample. They said, yes, we have got. I said, can you please get that one to me? I took an order of it and I found exactly the same order which was reported as a complaint in the product, as well as the product which was there even in the retention sample also, we had the similar one. 5 batches before this complaint batch, we examined and we found that yes, they also had the similar order. Now, friends, I bring it to your notice. In fact, the order and taste, these are the 2 tests. If we call it as a quality control test, they do not appear in any pharmacopoeia for obvious reason. Since that being the case, we had to be very, very cautious while taking the aroma of the product as well as the API. We found that the concentration of N-butanol present in the product was very much within the limit. Incidentally, I may mention, at that time, the specification indicated, BP specification indicated that the N-butanol limit was not more than 0.1%. And you will be surprised if I tell you, the current specification of British Pharmacopoeia, Indian Pharmacopoeia, everywhere, you will find that 0.1% has become now 1%. Let us have a look at the second one. We, in fact, this particular one, once we resolved the issue, we prepared the report and sent it to WHO. WHO accepted the report in toto and complimented, in fact, the team for finding out the solution. We requested WHO that if you are convinced of it, we request you to kindly release the batch which is still under hold at your end. A part of the batch. They did that, and they agreed with all our observations which we had submitted to them in the form of a report. We requested them again that could you please, if you are satisfied, we request you to kindly close the complaint. So they closed the complaint. And so far as it was a good learning. Many drugs, they do have order. Many drugs, they do have abnormal requirement. So far as the related substances are concerned, these are just an indication. As small as 0.04 to 0.05% concentration of the impurity, or I would say the related substance in the raw material, which goes into the product, which works out insignificant concentration, yes, it can make your life miserable. What I'm trying to bring out over here for the students of pharmacy, it is very important. In fact, I noticed throughout the country, pharmacopoeia and the pharmacopoeial testing is concerned is totally neglected. Students consider this is a necessary evil. They just do it for the heck of doing it. But let us accept it as a reality. In real life situation, the knowledge of pharmacopoeia, knowledge of limits, and at the same time, the importance of pharmacopoeia in the manufactured product is concerned, it is very, very high. It is a learning lesson. I will come to the another one. I was invited by ISP. They had organized one international conference in Bologna, in Italy. And they requested me to deliver a talk. This was the conference which was organized by pharma industry, academia, and machinery manufacturers. Bologna is the one where number of, in fact, the pharma machinery manufacturers are there, and the knowledge of machinery in the academic institution is also pretty good. After I completed my lecture, there was one gentleman, he got up from the audience, introduced himself, and he said, "Sir, I have a query." He said, "Sir, EU inspector, whenever they visit for inspection of our plant, we are a small SSI unit. We do manufacture a number of products. And at the same time, so far as the marketing requirements are concerned, they keep varying. Since that being the case, and we cannot afford to have a left out of the batch, we manufacture just the quantity which is required for supplying to the customer. Sometimes we get a smaller order. So to begin with, we manufactured the batches. They were validated using the tablet compression machine, 16 station. After that, when we receive a bigger batch, then in that case, and more orders, then we are always tempted. In fact, instead of compressing it on 16 station, we go to 27 station, or for that purpose, if the order is still bigger, then we do go to 45 station. The person said that whenever EU inspector, he visits us periodically, he insists, that whenever you change from 16 station to 27 station tabling machine, or 27 to 45 station machine, you must validate the process. So his question was, why it is required? Once I have already established that as a 16 station tableting machine, the product is concerned, it has already been validated. Why should I do the validation over 27 as well as the 45 station machine? I said, you have a very valid question. And let me assure you that your EU inspector is very, very right in asking you a question and insisting that where are your validation data? The person was a little taken back and he asked her, you are saying that I am also right and inspector is also. I said, yes, I will explain to you. I said, it is very, very important. Keep into consideration the micromeritics of the drug. What is the particle size of the drug which you are using? Number one. What is the granule bulk density which you are getting? Number two. After that, when you are compacting it on a 16 station tableting machine, the compacting force which is required, it is much higher on a 16 station, obviously because of the design of the machine. The same formula, if you take it up on a 27 station, it may not work. For a simple reason, the 16 station tableting machine has got the dual time of a compaction. It's a much higher compared to that on the 27 station, or for that purpose, the 45 station tableting machine. As a result of it, you do require, when you go for 16 station to 27 and 27 to 45 station, you do require to make correction on the compacting force which is exerted on the tableting machine. And in order to bring back, so far as the IPQC requirements are concerned, to comply with that, you require to make this adjustment. I said, I have a suggestion. What you do is that when you change over from 16 station to 27 station, or 27 to 45 station, you prepare a comparative data right from the API particle size to frequency, I would say, of the granule particle size distribution. And then you carry out all the tests, physical tests, IPQC tests which are required, and record those things. If you have a tableting machine on which you can easily measure, in fact, the compacting force going on a tip of punch, measure that also and record. And then subsequent to that, when you go for a 45, you do the same exercise. Compile all the data in the form of a tabular column, tabular information, along with the physical parameters which you have carried out and the test, including the assay as well as the dissolution data. And whenever, I said, EU inspector, whenever he visits, at that time you just show him these data and tell him, sir, we have already started and now we are compiling these data. This is for your information. Once we will have 5 batches data available with us, then in that case we will submit these data to you for your kind information. And you can be rest assured that we will definitely do it. When I assured the person that yes, you can do that, and I am 100% sure that the EU inspector will not be unreasonable, you will be able to convince, and once you have convinced him, you have won the inspector. It is very important that you must convince the inspector with your technical knowledge and technical capabilities and the data. Just a verbal assurance will not help. I said you have to show the data to convince him that these are the data, sir, we have got now. And once you complete the 5 batches on 27 as well as 45 station, yes, you have done the job. Thereby, you will have a flexibility. The same product you can manufacture on 16, 27 or 45 station machine. But it is important that you as a technical person, you have to make sure that yes, you compile the data, show it to the EU inspector, and I'm 100% sure the inspector won't be unreasonable. Once you have done that, you have won the inspector with your technical competence. Having said this, the gentleman said, he said, okay, sir, I'm convinced. I will do what you have told me, and I will submit the data also to them. I said, should you require any help anytime, get in touch with me. I will be too glad to interact even with your EU inspector to help you out. Let us see the next. This is the one area which is very much talked about internationally as of today. It dates back to 1980, when US FDA first time identified that some of the ANDAs submitted, they had a serious doubt with regard to the data. And they identified, in fact, the falsification of a data. In a grassroots language, if I to use, it's nothing else. It is the word falsification is also, it is a very sophisticated word. And far sophisticated word is data integrity. But in a crude language, if you have to say, it's nothing else, it's a manipulation, adjustment. Let us accept it as a reality. US FDA identified this way back to 1980, and based on that, they decided that they are going to, for any ANDA submission, they will get into info, in fact, verify the laboratory data of the submission. They insist to verify the laboratory data to satisfy themselves. If they are not satisfied, they will straight away say no. Let us accept it as a reality. From 2008 to 2017, US FDA issued warning letters to industries in 13 countries. Sorry to say, but that's a reality. The first number is India. Total number of warning letters issued were 48. Second one was the China with a 43. And you will surprise if I tell you that even the US also had their share of 28. These are the reality. I will just give you some of my personal experience. I was working as a consultant for one of the companies, and they requested me that, doctor, we would like you to visit, in fact, US, and specifically they told me the name of the organization located in New Jersey, because that organization is for sale. So we would like you to just go there, and we understand that the organization has got a very good R&D facility. So if not the company, entire company, we will take over, in fact, the R&D. So with that objective in my mind, I went to the organization, went around the facility, interacted with some of the people, and they told me organization had a 60 ANDA. I got very much interested. What had afterward, I was also told US FDA inspector had visited the company. They went into the depth of one of the ANDA product which they were marketing. They got a serious doubt. They went into the depth of it to find out lots of manipulation was done. Subsequent to that, they said, okay, it is one case. They took up the matter, they took up the second case, second ANDA. You can imagine the company had a 60 ANDAs. Once they went into the depth of the second one also, they found out the similar situation. Like that, the third, fourth, and fifth. With the five ANDA data, as well as the currently manufactured product data, US FDA scrutinized, and then they came to the conclusion everywhere there was a manipulation. They categorically told and bluntly told the organization, we are not going to look at your remaining ANDAs, 55 ANDAs. However, we tell you straight away, all your 60 ANDAs are concerned, they are null and void. They are no more valid. And FDA gave it in writing to them. The company went bankrupt. I said, let me just have a look at their R&D. That when they have developed so many ANDAs, they must be having a good facility. When I went into the depth to see the facility, I realized that what was the reason why they required the issue of a data integrity or a manipulation. The organization in the R&D, they had a 50 HPLCs. I was flabbergasted. When I interacted with the company, They told me categorically that all the 60 ANDS, yes, we have. They showed me all the ANDS, but they said, I'm sorry, sir, but this ANDS will have to be totally reworked. FDA has said that, yes, you resubmit once again, we will examine and we will give you back. Once we are satisfied, then only we will approve. Till such time, you cannot carry out any manufacturing activity with any one of these ANDA. Believe me, such a good, I would say, the achievement of the company, it went down the drain. 60 ANDAs totally ruined, and the company went bankrupt. I came back and I told my client, sorry, sir, I will not advise you to get into this at all. And I submitted my report. Why? I'll give you another example. I work as I do work as a consultant, and at an international level, I have got one international consultant who works for the US FDA also. We jointly work together. There was one EU company, European company, which was interested in taking over the CRO in Bangalore. We both went over there, inspected the facility, inspected the data. It was the last day when that friend of mine told me that, Doc, since I have to complete a lot of other things, so can you please help me? I want you to just have a look at, the X-ray plates and cardiograms. This CRO had conducted they had conducted BA/BE studies for an organization. And I told them, I said, can I have a look at, your X-rays as well as the cardiograms. They showed me the X-ray plates. Having looked at, in fact, the X-ray plates, I got a serious doubt. And I just put one behind, one above the other, all the 20 X-ray plates. You will surprise if I tell you, all the X-ray plates, all the 20 X-ray plates were superimposable. It is impossible that you have got an identical X-ray plates to that of 20 people. Similar thing happened even when I looked at cardiograms. 20 cardiograms, they looked alike, which is impossible. If you take a cardiogram of an individual in the morning or in the afternoon again, or maybe in the evening, you will find that there are certain changes. But here, no changes. What they had done was nothing else. They had carried out copies out of the one X-ray plate as well as the cardiogram. See, these are the things, which makes, in fact, the industry with a very bad name. We prepared a report and submitted to the EU customer. Sorry, we do not recommend you to go ahead with taking over this particular CRO. Coming to inspection in India, I was working as a consultant, went to an organization. In the warehouse right at the entry, they had kept one balance. This balance was of 300 kg capacity. And SOP indicated that what are the daily as well as the weekly calibration requirements. So 10 kg, 50 kg, 100 kg, every day calibration had to be done. And with the additional 300 kg once in a week. I said, okay. I just went through, in fact, the data of the calibration that carried out on the same day, including 300 kg. It looked quite impressive. So I just asked the gentleman, can you please show me once again calibration of these using 10, 50, 100 as well as the 300 kg. He had no hesitation in showing me 10, 15, 100 kg. But when the question came of at 300 kg, he was not able to lift even the weights, standard weight. So I asked him, I said, are you sure you have done this? He said, yes, sir, I did. When did you do? In the morning, sir. How did you do when you cannot lift the leg, when you cannot lift the luggage, when you cannot lift the weight? I asked him, I would like to see the data of a calibration for over a period of last 1 month. Everywhere 300 kg appeared weekly, and everywhere the quantity was written. So I just asked him, I said, these are all your signature? He said, yes. I said, did you really weigh? I said, now be honest enough in telling me. He admitted, sorry, sir, I could not do because I cannot weigh that, I cannot lift the 300 kg weight. Hence, I have just written the figures. He was honest enough in manipulating the data. Come to the one more example. In Hyderabad, there are 2 CROs. They were doing exceedingly good work of a BA/BE studies. They carried out these studies for multinational companies as well as the Indian companies for submission to WHO, US FDA as well as EU. The first time it was a WHO inspectors who looked at the BA/BE studies which were submitted by the company for their client. The WHO went into the depth of it and came out with a number of Pandora boxes. WHO was hesitant to take any action because number of multinationals were getting their work done over here. Subsequent to that, the US FDA people went. They also made the similar observation. And thereafter, EU inspectors, they went over there. They also found the similar kind of a situation. All the 3 world topmost bodies, they interacted with among themselves. And they said that, no, we do not accept. Both the CROs were in tears. They made, as a matter of fact, it was not that their incompetence or manipulative technique which they have employed. They said that all these international bodies, they are against India. They are against the CROs in India, which has been doing the work for the number of multinational companies. Believe me, you will be surprised, this matter had gone to a level of a central government. Central government had lifted their hand. You can imagine what must have been the plight. Friends, let us accept, the industry and academia are very, very prone to data integrity. I come to the next one, that is environmental control.
Hello.
Santosh unable to hear his voice.
Actually, ma'am, his
I think there
mic
is
is
network.
open. His mic is open, but I don't know what happened.
I think there is network issue. We're just
It's from his side, sir, ma'am.
Maybe we should just call him and tell him that we are not able to listen to him. He must be going on talking. Please call him and tell him.
yes, ma'am.
Dr. Santosh, are you contacting him?
Sir, Kapil sir is in contact with him.
Sir, he is talking to him.
Okay.
No, wait. 1 second.
Yes, sir, we are able to see and hear you also.
I'll just. Can you see it?
Kotria sir, it's clear. It's clear. Visible now, sir.
Presentation is gone.
Yes, sir. Please share the screen.
So Bala, I have once again.
Yes. Yes, sir, we are able to see. Please share your screen, sir.
Center green one, sir. Green button.
Green button, sir.
1 second. Can you see it?
Share screen, sir. We can see only yourself, but we are not able to see your screen.
Oh.
Have you done share screen, sir?
Not yet. I think it's not. Sir, green button, sir. Center one.
I don't see the green button. That's the problem. There is no green button.
Sir, if you move your scroller a little bit, now you will see that green share screen button on the computer in the center down below.
I think I will just increase this size, you know.
Let him speak then. Please. No sharing screen is there. Don't bother. Please.
Okay.
Sir, you can talk.
Hello, Shutre sir.
Yes.
You can go with your talk, sir. No problem. If it's not getting share, no problem. You please continue with the talk, sir.
Yeah, are you able to see at least, you know, the slide?
No, sir. We can see only your face, and it's okay, sir. No problem.
Can't
We
hear.
can hear you. You continue with your talk, sir.
You know, I was just talking about the environmental control.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
We were working to re-establish the environmental requirements, which failed in microbiological count, which I told you. Now, once it failed, we got in touch with, in fact, you know, our business associates in US and told them about the problem. We sent them the data. They said that we will get back to you in a day's time. So we waited for one day. Next day, they said that, doctor, we are not able to help you. But what we will do is that we will get in touch with one of the microbiology professor in the university, whose services we hired for our training program. They got in touch with the professor, and she interacted with me. She made a couple of 2-3 suggestions. We tried out all those. Nothing worked. Then she came out with one more suggestion and told us that, doctor, can you do one thing? Can you find out, or can you, when you carry out, in fact, you know, with your routine sanitizer, you sanitize the area when the relative humidity in the atmosphere is concerned, you adjust it to 70%, 70. We adjusted, in fact, you know, your humidity to a level of 70%. After that, allow it to settle down. And then we took, in fact, you know, once again, the environmental data, for microbiological purpose. We were surprised. In the first instance itself, the data came within the compliance. So I said that, no, we are not going to be satisfied just with the one trial. We did it once again. And when we found out, in fact, yes, the repeat testing was also found satisfactory. These data were shared with the microbiological professor of the university in US. And she told me that, doc, I am convinced. The first lesson which we learned out of this trial, she said that, remember one thing, any sanitizing agent to penetrate into the microbial cell, it requires a certain amount of humidity. And if you keep a 70% of humidity, be rest assured you will have no problem. What you can do is that in another area, this is the liquid, matter of fact, liquid injectable area. In another area, she suggested that what you do is that you bring down microbial count, and then subsequent to that, you increase the humidity, you reduce the humidity. We did that. The data came to the compliance requirement. I gave a ring and profusely thanked the professor. This is the I must tell you, this is a contribution coming from academia to industry in resolving the issue of industry. I will go to the another one. We used to manufacture the human insulin injectable, number of human insulin injectable products. And we used to export it to USSR. Number of, in fact, the supplies were affected without any problem for quite a few years. In one supply, we received a market complaint from a regulatory agency. Complaint, in fact, the regulatory agency indicated that we have received some of your consignment, in which some of the shippers are concerned, they are broken, opened up, and the product has been frozen. We were really surprised. How could it happen? I went personally over there to see for myself. There were few shippers, yes, they were broken. The product got exposed to atmosphere when atmospheric temperature was -30. The depot manager indicated that we received this consignment in a truck from Frankfurt. It took me back, really. The consignment was booked in Air India for direct transportation to Moscow, and from Moscow they will take care of, in fact, for transporting it into the depot. I was really surprised. I said, what went wrong? I asked the depot manager, then he told me, and he showed me all the documents which were given by the truck driver, who had indicated, and the manager indicated to me that, doctor, this particular consignment, it came up to Germany, that is Frankfurt, and subsequent to that, it was transported by truck by Lufthansa. I decided that yes, there is a necessity. We prepared the report and went to the regulatory agency and told him that this is a report which is an incomplete report, but nevertheless, I will come back to you with the investigation with the Air India as well as the Lufthansa. Came back to India and interacted with the Air India. Air India revealed that they had a strike for 15 days. Products were not moving. So on their own, they decided to transport the product through Lufthansa up to Germany, with an understanding that from Germany they will send it to USSR, that is Moscow. When the consignment reached, in fact, the Frankfurt, Lufthansa did not have a flight at least for 5 days to go to USSR, that is Moscow. So then the Air India over there as well as the Lufthansa, both of them, they decided on their own to transport the consignment through a truck It was non-refrigerated truck. And when the truck was transporting it to the destination, it met with an accident. Few shippers out of the total consignment, they fell down. They broke open, and the product which got exposed, they were frozen. I prepared the report based on what Air India had told me, and got them signed by them. And similar way, I went to Frankfurt also and got the Lufthansa to sign the document. After this incident, in fact, a report was submitted to USSR regulatory agency. When they received, in fact, the report, they were also flabbergasted. I requested them that what you can do is, out of the total consignment, whatever the one which has been exposed, where the shippers have been broken, I said you segregate them from that of the remaining one. And I request you, if you can analyze the good product, good shares, where the shippers, intact shippers. And for your information, you can even analyze this, the one which are broken one. They analyzed and they shared, in fact, the analytical report also with us. And I told them that, okay, so far as the one which is the shippers which were broken, I suggest and we undertake, in fact, that we will provide you the replacement. However, I request, so far as the remaining shippers are concerned, where the products have been found good, I request you to make use of it and release the product. To our request, in fact, the regulatory agency agreed. The product in a good shape in the shipper corrugated boxes, outer corrugated boxes, they were released with an assurance to them that yes, we will provide you the replacement for the one which has been damaged. We provided them the replacement with a request that if they can withdraw the complaint, which they did. No doubt about it, this particular product was concerned. Although it was exported several times, never it happened. But during our interaction with the Air India and the Lufthansa, we had to tell them point blank that we are going to sue you. We sued both the airlines for total negligence.
Is he having technical issues again?
I think he has some network issue.
Yes, looks like.
Yes, yes.
I think he got
It's
disconnected.
a very poor internet connection.
Call him please quickly. I've spoken to him. He's connecting again. He got disconnected.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
He's back.
Speak to him if possible, otherwise.
No, ma'am. I think he is not yet joined.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think Dr. Bala, please sum up otherwise. Because I don't know.
Yes, sir. I will just ask him once again. Call him, ask him once again. And then maybe he can take some questions also. He has to come back now, sir, for questions also.
Just please help him online.
Sir, his number seems to be busy. I'm trying to reach out to him. Santosh, are you speaking to him?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Kapil, Kalyani,
Maybe
who's
it may be Kapil. It may be Kapil.
No,
Okay.
ma'am. Even I tried connecting him. It's not getting connected.
Ma'am, I'm
Yeah,
trying to
that's
call him, but he's not answering.
Okay.
ma'am. That may be the network issue majorly.
He's not answering.
I will try once again. No, not able to reach him. His phone is busy. What do we do?
Dr. Bala, I think you just sum up if possible. And questions we will answer by email.
Yes, Kalyani, Dr. Kalyani, just look at the questions. I will try and reach out to him one last time.
Yes, ma'am, I have the questions.
Kalyani, you are muted. Unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you have any questions, please type in the chat box. We will try to address them.
Are you getting or?
Okay. Okay. Fine, sir. We will submit up ourselves then. Yes, sir. I am able to hear you, but others will not be able to hear, na? Yeah. So, no problem, sir. No problem. Technical issue we cannot. It's in nobody's hands. Okay, sir. I will submit up then on your behalf. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I apologize to the audience because Dr. Shrotra is unable to join us. His internet connectivity has he's gone and he's called BSNL and they will do it only tomorrow morning, which is not of any use to us. So we will sum it up here, and any questions that you all are having, we will only try and answer them, or we will send them to him subsequently. So here I can see one question as to what is the role of pharma administrators in pharma industry. So as far as I see it, the pharma administrators would be depending upon what is the content that you are learning, that is one thing. And administration would be, again, you should be having the background knowledge of pharmacy as well as the management role that you have to play. So in the administration also there are different types of functions, which are leadership roles, which are HR roles, which are recruitment roles, which are training roles, development roles. There are so many roles even in the administration area also. So there is establishment role which takes care of the establishment of everybody. So many roles that are there in pharma industry. So this is what you would be playing as a with the pharma administration specialization. But any one particular specialization will be giving you an entry into the pharma industry. Rest of the things you will always have to add on to your skill set that is available to you. And you will have to enhance and add on, find out what is your niche area, and then learn that particular skill and go on. Especially in pharma industry, it is not just a one-day learning process. It's a continuous learning process. We are learning even today as to how to go ahead and teach online classes. So that's how in pharma industry, learning is a continuous process. We need to keep learning.
Why only in pharma? Everywhere, madam. Everywhere.
Yes, sir. Yes, Shirish, sir.
I think by mistake I came on the line. Sorry, I was talking.
Okay. Okay, no problem. No problem. Kalyani, what is the next question that is there?
And
Please.
the next question is why there arise a need to manipulate the data in pharma industry or R&D?
It is not the need to manipulate the data. Nobody intentionally would want to manipulate the data, but then depending upon the pressure that is there in the pharma industry, one thing I can say is that the pressures in the pharma industry are tremendous. Those kind of pressures are much more when compared to any other sector. So I cannot say that pressure is a reason for you to manipulate. That is a totally wrong thing it will be. But the reason why they would do that is they have to provide the data to the particular organization, to the particular regulatory body, where they would feel that if I do not do that, maybe I will be out of my job, or some kind of insecurity would be there for them to resort to such methods. So also somewhere I feel that even in the schools and colleges, when we are teaching them, we should, as a teachers or academicians, we should actually tell them that it is not necessary to always put something which looks like correct value in the paper to everybody. Whatever real value you get, if you report it, that is fine. So that is because even I see in examinations also, students always feel that I know that in the regular class this is the answer I have got and this is what it should be. Though I did not get it, I will put the same answer. So that kind of a behavior and mentality they develop, and that's what leads to under pressure situations. They might resort to such situations, but I cannot for sure say that anybody who is from industry who has faced such a situation maybe will be able to answer this question. I have seen Dr. Parijat Elchidana in the group. If she is there available in this then maybe she'll be able to answer in a better manner to this particular question, because I'm from academics and I have not got industry experience. She will be able to answer that question. Even if there is a pressure also, one should not succumb to the pressure, because at that point of time they might have put in some wrong data, but like how all the case studies Dr. Shotria has discussed, each one of them will come back to you. Each one of them will come back to us in a very big way, where the entire approval, the company gets collapsed, all these kinds of problems will happen. So if we do that stitch in time, then we will not have to do all those company closures and all kinds of 483s, and all these things will not happen. So that's what I can answer from my experience. I would wish if anybody from industry is there, I wish that they would answer this question.
Can I answer this, ma'am? This is
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I'm from ex-Zydus Cadila. I was global manufacturing head of the Zydus Cadila.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
I'm working with Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance now, IPA, you may be knowing. They have top 25 Indian pharma industry. So let me tell you the data integrity, why it happens, the problems, what is coming out. Sometimes, as you said, the under pressure the people have to work, and if they are not getting the expected result, they try to manipulate it so that it has to be put on the particular time and something. And what you have said is exactly right, that because of the pressures and there are timelines, everything has to be done on time. If you don't need time, there is a risk in your job. Those type of things used to create this problem, but industry has realized, and now things are not happening. I can assure you that everybody, at least top companies, have realized that this is not going to work. We tell everybody now that it is not acceptable. You must do, even if it is taking more time, you tell us that is it going to take more time. But do it right. Right first time is the now the message given by everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would just like to add here that data integrity now is a big thing. Everybody is training their employees also, starting from the senior level. At all levels, they are doing training for data integrity. So we as teachers, we would also take the onus of training the students that it is okay to report a wrong value, but you have to do the kappa for these kind of outliers or outlying results instead of manipulating the values. That's what we would also be training to the students. Data integrity has become a big activity now in the industry. Dr. Kalyani, next question, please.
Ma'am, next question is, won't fast tracking of drugs compromise the level of quality of the regulatory information generated?
Okay, fast tracking of the drug, like in COVID scenario, they are asking. Okay, so in such a case, what I can say from my experience is that they will not be compromising on any data, but they will be at least looking at the minimum amount of data that is required to say for sure that, okay, this drug works or this drug doesn't work. Being a pharmacology professor, Dr. Kalyani will be in a better position to answer this question as to what is the, don't worry Kalyani, if you don't know, that's fine. As to what is the minimum number of minimum data that we have to provide, because see, there are multi-centric data, there are single center data, there are phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, all these trials have to be done, ideally speaking, in an ideal situation. But then if we are not having this kind of time for us, people are dying and we have to give them something, and we are trying plasma therapy, we have been trying hit and trial, HCQ we have tried, we are trying dexamethasone now, we are trying Ayush, and Coromil has already come in the market, Ramdev Babaji ne to bol diya. So those things cannot really be, everything right now is hit and trial, but the government or ICMR or any organization will look at the minimum safety data that is required. Without that, they will not allow anything to come into the market. It may not be thousands and thousands of people in multiple centers, but whatever minimum amount of data that is required, they would definitely do that before they can give a go ahead, and they will be watching it very closely. All the data that is generated, they will watch it very closely, which European Union is now doing. London is also saying, we are saying ICMR August 15. We are all anxious to see. We are not very sure. So in short-term data, fast tracking doesn't mean that we compromise on the data. It means that, yes, whatever is the minimum required, we may not do the entire full-fledged phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but we will do the safety data that is required. And correct me, Dr. Kalyani, if I'm saying, and if any other pharmacology professors or people from CROs or in this group today, please add on to that. You're welcome to add on to that. Okay, then we move on to the next question.
In case of Indian pharmaceutical industry, is the unavailability of higher technology becoming a reason for data manipulation?
Can't hear.
Sorry, I think I've even Bala ma'am has lost the connection.
Yeah, Dr.
Yes, it
Ambikanandan Mishra is there. Please request him. He will ask.
Mishra sir, if you could answer this question.
Maybe you can repeat the question, or someone else has taken, Dr. Anil has taken that question, or somebody else.
Ma'am, Mishra sir, I'm asking Mishra sir to take up this question.
Fantastic, fantastic. Please tell him to go
The
ahead.
question is, in case of Indian pharmaceutical industry, is the unavailability of higher technology becoming a reason for data manipulation?
Mishra sir?
Maybe this is slightly incorrect because Indian pharma industry is mainly a generic company. 60% revenue, the pharma industry is coming out of the generic product. Lack of knowledge can be reason for that. They may not be doing it intentionally. Maybe lack of information, lack of knowledge. They work in this area. So many times by ignorance, they might commit some mistakes. Otherwise, they intentionally very good companies doesn't do anything which is incorrect. So giving a wrong kind of information is because of the ignorance. The second I can say is because of the people who are being involved. They are specialized in particular area. So they may not be aware sometimes. So they not concerned when they give wrong information. Otherwise, there is no reason for them to give a wrong information. Here, Indian companies work in very because suppose if it is a multinational, they have only 12 to 15 pairs. But in the Indian company, they will have to more than 250 pairs. So the range of temperature is very high. So they will not have in all the areas, and they keep on learning and they keep on improving. Otherwise, there is no reason. I don't see any kind of a lack of facilities or any other thing is responsible. Because I have seen many times, even from the market, you get some certain things which may not be. For example, people used to complain for certain things which are fictitious in nature. So you have to give certain information and scientific information whatsoever you have, and you have to generate lot of data. So if you don't want to generate, then people give some answer which is in a shortcut method. That time they end up in giving a kind of information which may be less than correct. Nothing else.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next question, please, Dr. Kalyani.
And most of the questions are related to data manipulation only. They are almost similar type of questions.
Kind of, yeah. So industry persons have also answered. So it could be sometimes lack of knowledge also, lack of ignorance also, and pressures also. These are the main three reasons. So I think with that, if those are the questions.
In an industry.
Yeah.
Sir, please unmute. Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Dr. Mishra has said, let me add one more thing. In addition to we as a pharma industry, we have got all the high technology available. Sometimes small companies or medium scale industries is not able to apply all the technologies because of the lack of funds. That's another area where the things are creating the problems, and probably that is also one of the reasons. If technology is not available, you are not able to know that if there is any data manipulation is happening in your industry. I think most of the people actually are going for the digitalizations, ensuring that things are tracked through the digital systems, audit trails and everything, so that the data integrity is avoided. The question of time now that whole industry will adopt this thing. Currently, I think all big companies are adopting this as a standard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dr. Kalyani, go ahead.
Ma'am, the questions, I can't see more questions.
All right. All
If
right.
we have any, we can post it to Shrotriya sir and get his feedback on that.
Yes, surely. We can give his ID to them. We can give his email ID to them, and then we can ask. And then so it was a wonderful presentation, though it got cut off in between. He was discussing all the real-time cases. So I'd request you all to now conclude the session. I would like to just thank, and you please conclude the session. Dr. Yeah. Kapil?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you, ma'am, for answering the question and answer session. I would like to thank on behalf of SVKM's NMIMS School of Pharmacy and Technology Management, Mumbai. I would like to thank Shrotriya sir, Dr. Shrotriya sir, for his kindness to share his rich knowledge, industrial knowledge with all of us. I'm sure that it would have been it would benefit everyone, be it students, academicians, or people from industry. I would like to thank SVKM's NMIMS for providing this platform to have this learning platform. We are very much grateful to Dr. R.S. Goud, Director SVKM's NMIMS Sherpur campus, and Director SVKM's all the pharma institutes for his constant support, for his vision, and for his guidance. I'm very much thankful to Dr. Bala Prabhakar, for Dean SPP, SPTM Mumbai, for her kind support and guidance throughout this conducting this webinar. We are thankful to Dr. Anil Pete, Associate Dean SVKM's NMIMS School of Pharmacy, Hyderabad campus, and Dr. Santosh Shele for their last minute kind help in solving our technical issues. We are very much grateful to them for helping us out. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants for attending this webinar, questions and their interactions. And I'm sure that you would participate in such more webinars which would be organized by us. And with this, we would like to conclude this session. We are going to send the feedback link to all the attendees by email. So please have a patience with us. We will conclude the session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, you would want to add?
No. Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav sir. Thank you, Bala ma'am.
Ma'am, you're mute.